Good evening. The bodies of an elderly couple have been found at a house on the Isle of Wight. Police have not confirmed how they died, but say their deaths are being treated as an isolated incident. The bodies were discovered at the property in Shanklin this morning. The road was cordoned off with forensic officers at the scene for much of the day. Well, Emma Wilkinson is in the newsroom with the very latest.
Well, at around 7:10 this morning, police were called to Albert Road in Shanklin and a section of the road was quickly cordoned off. Police confirmed this afternoon that the bodies of two elderly people, a 77-year-old man and an 83-year-old woman, were found inside a house. Earlier, forensic investigators arrived at the scene while officers have been carrying out door-to-door inquiries this afternoon. Police say at the moment they're treating this as an isolated incident. They don't believe there's any risk to the public and they aren't looking for anyone else in connection with the deaths. The process to formally identify the two people is ongoing, but we're told specialist officers are now supporting the next of kin. Post-mortem examinations to work out exactly how these two people died will take place tomorrow.
Emma, thank you. Thousands of commuters will face major disruption tomorrow morning as a fourth 24-hour walkout by train conductors begins. It's due to a bitter dispute over planned changes to the role of guards. It means there will be no trains on some routes and only a limited service on others between 7:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. The Brighton main line will operate a reduced service between Victoria, Gatwick and Brighton. While angry rail passengers held a protest about the poor state of services on Southern at Brighton Station tonight. Up to 250 trains a day are being cancelled because of staff sickness. Demonstrators announced further protests next Monday.
The trains have been unreliable. If you need to get into office at a certain time or you need to attend a meeting in London, let's say, you can't rely on trains.
It's affecting people all across the network. So on Monday we're actually going to have protests in stations right across the network, including London Victoria.
4 people arrested on suspicion of murdering a man in Crawley are still being questioned by police tonight. A 20-year-old man from Mayfield was found stabbed in a flat on Spencer's Road on Saturday. He later died in hospital. 2 women and 2 men in their 20s were arrested and remain in custody. Now, it's the first day of a knife amnesty in Hampshire. They're placing bins inside police stations so people can dispose of knives and blades without being charged. A huge fire at a car scrapyard in Poole started due to a short circuit in one of the vehicles. Flames ripped through the Charles Trent site near Tower Park on Friday night. Smoke could be seen across Bournemouth and Poole. Bus passengers across Dorset faced disruption today as more than 100 drivers walked out on strike. They're angry at a 2.3% pay offer from First Group, while other drivers across the region have received a pay rise of up to 13%. The industrial action is set to last for 5 days, as Duncan Slightholme explains.
It's not just the miserable weather that's dampening the spirits of these drivers. They're angry that after months of negotiation, they still haven't got a pay offer they think is fair. They stopped work as the early shift should have started today. They're planning to stay out for 5 days.
Yeah, I was very surprised that they decided to go out for 5 days. It's their decision. This just shows the frustration they've got with the company. I feel sorry for the public. It is summer. People will be coming to Weymouth. But, you know, have some sympathy for these drivers. They're desperate for a pay rise.
The strike isn't stopping services from running, although it is affecting timetables. Managers are taking the wheel to keep buses on the road. They've also drafted in drivers from across the country. Most main routes are covered, but some school services are cancelled, as are direct services between Weymouth and Bridport, Bridport and Bedminster, and Bridport and Lyme Regis to Exeter, among others.
Drivers here describe themselves as poor relations and can't understand why colleagues doing the same job for the same company but in a different place get paid differently. For example, just up the road in Yeovil, drivers are paid 70 pence more per hour. At the depot, the only buses in are for maintenance. Managers say they are disappointed they've not reached agreement with drivers. The company's offer of arbitration through ACAS has been rejected.
Terms and conditions, including pay, is negotiated locally with local trade unions and local trade union representatives. Weymouth and Bridport drivers are not the highest paid in First Bus, but they're also not the lowest paid in First Bus. And the key things that are factors involving terms and conditions and pay are around the local economy, labour markets, all sorts of varying different factors and revenue.
The strike will continue until Friday. Duncan Saito, ITV News.
Now, leading figures in the car industry, which is so important to this region today, restated their view that staying in the EU is best for business and best for jobs. The Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, whose members include Rolls-Royce, Goodwood and Honda in Wiltshire, claim nearly 80% of firms say remaining in would be better for their business. It comes as David Cameron was at the BMW mini plant in Oxfordshire and said access to Europe's single market was vital to the industry. Meanwhile, the Chancellor George Osborne was in West Sussex today, claiming jobs would be lost if we left the EU. But as our political correspondent Phil Hornby reports, his warnings seem to carry little weight with voters on the street.
A visit to a high-tech automotive consultancy firm and the sort of photo opportunity he loves. Mr. Osborne got a masterclass in bolting down a cylinder head. Then he gave us a masterclass in the art of not quite answering the question he was asked. We were told we could ask 3.
Do you agree with Paddy Ashdown that hyperbole is a kind of a lie? Maybe that's why lots of people don't believe a word you've said during this campaign.
Well, with just days to go, you've got everyone from football clubs to Formula One, from the country's car manufacturers to the country's leading entrepreneur, Richard Branson, all saying very clearly that there is a big risk to quitting the EU.
Nothing about Paddy Ashdown's comments there. Let's have another go.
If we vote to stay in, how's that going to affect your relationship with the rest of the EU? Because you no longer have that nuclear option to say, if you don't listen to us, we might leave. And they're just going to ride roughshod over you, aren't they?
Well, Britain has the best of both worlds. We are not in the euro or the open border system, but we are in the single market. And the business I'm in here today on the south coast makes car engines that go in cars that are exported across the EU. And the car industry is telling us today that there would be jobs losses and there would be a risk to British exports if we quit.
I was asking if we stay.
Well, if we remain in, we can go on selling these cars into the European Union.
Will the EU just ride roughshod over you?
And get the reforms that we have agreed with the EU that give Britain the best of both worlds.
OK, I'll try a third question. Can the Tory party put itself back together again?
Well, look, this isn't about one political party. What you've got is a whole range of people, from the Labour Party to the Conservative Party.
Maybe we'd have better luck getting straight answers from the people out braving the midsummer monsoon in Shoreham.
Has any politician said anything during this campaign that's made you change your mind?
No. No.
Could anybody say anything to make you change your mind?
Not really, no.
I think the problem is a lack of information on both sides.
Is your mind made up?
It's up to my husband, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does he have more sway than George Osborne?
I don't know, probably.
Not long to go now. Phil Hornby, ITV News, Shoreham.
On to sport, and in tennis, Johanna Konta will be hoping for success in her hometown of Eastbourne this week, ahead of the start of Wimbledon next Monday. Konta has also been selected to represent Great Britain in the Rio Olympics, but she says first she's determined to do well at Devonshire Park, particularly as it's so close to home.
I get to stay at home, I get to sleep in my own bed, I get to spend time with my family. I think I am definitely the luckiest player here this week, that during this sort of weather I get to go home instead of going back to a hotel room.
Well, best of luck to her. And finally, hundreds of kite surfers have taken to the water off the south coast to set a new world record. In all, 423 kite surfers met on Hayling Island during the Virgin Kite Surfing Armada and managed to travel the mile-long course to claim the title for the world's largest parade of kite surfers. It took them 3.5 hours to complete. Really stunning pictures, and well done if one of them was you. Now, is this rain ever going to go away? Let's find out. Here's Simon.
From cold fronts to camping, driving through Europe, Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Good evening, and you might have noticed how bright the moon is tonight. It's actually a strawberry moon, nothing to do with its colour, but because back in the olden times it was bright enough to help with the start of the strawberry picking season. It's all thanks to the clear spells that we can see it tonight, although with a lot of moisture in the air, we're also going to see some mist and fog developing too, and it's mild and muggy again. Temperatures 13, 14, 15 for many of us. So tomorrow morning might be a bit grey first thing, but the mist will lift, the cloud will break. We should get some bright or sunny spells on the go. In the best of any sunshine, temperatures tomorrow up into the high teens, although thicker cloud towards the south coast and an odd spot of drizzle too.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
And that is all from us for tonight. We are back during Good Morning Britain from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. But from me and from all of us here on the very late team, thanks for staying with us. Good night.